As I mentioned in a few past videos, this apartment had AC wall units in 3 rooms that needed to be taken down. Since we will install central AC, 2 of the units were in block walls and 1 was installed in a window, in which we showed in a previous video how we took the unit down and replaced the window. As you see in these short clips, it was not an easy task, especially the UJC for the kitchen and living area, and then closing in the openings. I will upload the teardown of the wall units and how we filled the opening with cinder blocks in a future video. Getting to the subject of this video. Of course, central AC ducts have to be installed, usually coming from the attic, but we have a second story above us and the floor joists run the opposite way. Our only other option is to run them under the ceiling against the wall, then build a soffit to hide them. Here's the ducts being installed and the filter grill close to the floor that goes to the other side of the wall for air intake to the handler. They're coming out of the closet wall from the air handler, strapped to the ceiling, and each going into an air vent box of the bedrooms. Here's the vent in the first bedroom, and here's the vent on the second one. There we have the main vent coming out of the closet wall as well for the main room that takes care of the living room, kitchen, and dining room. So our project today is to build a soffit or drop ceiling to hide all this ductwork by measuring the metal studs we will be using to basically build a frame box to be covered by 1/2-inch drywall. Cutting the sheet metal studs can be done with a sheet metal snipping tool, but be very careful with this material. It's very sharp. It's recommended you wear gloves. Or you can use a small grinder to save time. After cutting, it's best to flatten the ends to make it easy to insert another metal stud when forming a corner or joining 2 pieces together. You will see as we go how this comes in handy. It's important to have all of the studs inside the wall and ceiling marked before, so you won't go crazy trying to find them or try to guess as you screw them in. Our marks are for studs and level lines as much as we can anticipate. Notice we're staying 3/4 inch above the bottom vent box going to the bedroom. The reason for this is to clear the door molding. The drywall and J trim will fill in the difference from the bottom of the wall plate and the bottom of the vent box. Next, we install a vertical wall plate to the other end where the second vent box ends, and then install the rest of the horizontal bottom plate. Then measure and mark the ceiling for the depth of the soffit box. This will give us a guide how far out the ceiling plate will be, and the same will apply for the bottom hanging stud. Now that we measured and marked where to screw in the top plate, we line it up on the marks and screw it into the joists. Next, we finish boxing in the wall end where the ducts are coming out of the wall, making sure they're level and square. One great thing about working with metal studs, you don't have to cut them exact. If you cut them a little short, you can screw it a little higher, or you can screw it a little lower. And after that, we add the bottom hanging plate to the bottom corner and add a cripple stud to hold it level. It's definitely beginning to look like something now. And now that we have our form, we cut all the cripple studs to size and screw them in 16-inch apart and corresponding with the ceiling joist, so all the weight is hanging from the ceiling joist that the top plate is fastened to. As we screw each one, we keep checking that the level and measurements are true. We also start adding the bottom studs from the wall to the bottom hanging plate to line up the top plate to the bottom hanging plate. We finished the end of the Soffit box and then fastened the rest of the hanging plate to it. Before going on to the drywall installation, double check and add additional screws at every joint. Keep in mind that the compound on the drywall will not withstand too much vibration and will eventually crack if the Soffit framing is not solid. We start cutting the drywall and screw it to the metal frame every 8 inches. Being short about 3 inches, we cut a small strip and screw it right into the gap. We are now ready to add drywall to the bottom of the Soffit. After adding the first piece, the other half of the bottom drywall will have a J-trim molding on the side facing the wall, so we will save some time adding compound to that whole inside corner, except where the air duct box is protruding. Here we notched it in to go around it and fill in the small gap with screen and compound later on. The rest will only need a bead of caulk. And here's our notch for the air vent box. And we finally installed the last piece of drywall. Notice we installed the corner trim, but it's not the usual type. This one is called bullnose corner trim. I thought it would look better than a sharp corner. We add screen on this section and give it a first coat of compound. Apply self-adhesive ash tape on all the joints. Finally get to put it on the AC vent box. One thing about these bullnose corners, they do take a lot of compounding. Just be ready for enough compound, but they're well worth it. It really gives it a nice round finish. Before we sand the last coat of compound, we add 1-inch crown molding to the ceiling and Soffit by applying construction adhesive to the corner first and then brad nail it as well. That finishes the Soffit line real well, no compound needed. We finished sanding the last coat of compound and added caulk to the crown molding. As soon as it dried, we applied primer and it's ready for paint. As always, I hope this helps someone out there, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. See the description for links of tools and materials used in this video, and you all have a great day.